Tricky year so far, huh? This has been a year full of reflections. I feel like I say that a lot. Maybe I do a lot of reflecting, I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about the world and also about my personal life as I navigate change, if you will. Specifically about relationships, my relationships, the people in my life, how I want to interact with people and who I want to interact with. I think a lot of us really like the idea of being independent, right, and not relying on other people, but that's just not the world that we live in. I think we're all actually quite dependent on our networks, on our connections, on the people that we know, and none of us are truly self-made. There's an expression in Argentina that goes, "Decime con quién andas." Hold on. I'm not even going to be able to say this correctly. "Decime con quién andas y te diré quién sos," which translates to, tell me who you spend time with and I'll tell you who you are, which is a little bit black and white. I'm not sure it's that black and white, but there is a level of truth in that, I think. So with that being said, here are 3 simple ideas that are changing my life, specifically on the topic of relationships. Why not? Considering the fact that I'm going through life and learning as I go, might as well share it with the world, right? And maybe I'll save some people some time in reaching these conclusions. I don't know. This is the kind of thing that I don't feel like is taught in school, which isn't right in my opinion. I mean, we learn how to do math, right? And I'm not trying to knock math specifically here, but we don't learn how to listen to ourselves or to develop the tools to better understand ourselves. And I think that's just fundamental to be able to lead a healthy, productive life, right? So some aspect of it feels a little bit backwards. Now, first, before diving into those 3 things that I wanted to talk about, I thought I would share a funny little awkward relationship related anecdote. I don't know, I don't do that enough, and why not? I realized recently I've gotten very philosophical and detached from reality with recent videos of mine, so I'm trying to lighten things up again, come back to earth. So let me know if you like this change of pace. All right, on to the anecdote, which by the way, I shouldn't be hyping this up. It's a terrible story. It's like, you're gonna see, it's pretty disappointing. Basically, I went on a date with a girl a couple of years ago, and we went bowling and all was going swell. We finished bowling and we were gathering our things, and I think I got distracted by something on my phone or something, because I remember looking up and seeing that the girl was already at the counter about to pay. And I had a kind of, not freak out moment, but I was like, oh no, I don't want to let her pay, and sort of overreacted in that moment. I don't know, I really wanted to pay because I invited her on the date. Like, I felt like it was my responsibility. So I grabbed my shit and I start running towards the counter. Oh my God. I shouldn't have done that. Certainly not in the rented bowling shoes that I was wearing, because I totally ran into like a table and an assortment of chairs and made an enormous racket. It honestly sounded like, I don't even know what, just this enormous crashing of metal and plastic. And I remember the girl and the person at the counter turned around like, what the hell is going on? Yeah. I think the worst part is that she, I think maybe knew what I was trying to do. Oh God. That should be proof enough that I am also figuring out how to navigate relationships and whatnot, and can look like a real dummy sometimes. Okay, anyway, why don't we move on with this video? People will remember how you made them feel. This is actually much more eloquently put by an incredible poet, whose quote I will actually read to you right now, because it's just more eloquently put than I could ever put it myself. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel, which are words from Maya Angelou. Let me first say that I find this idea really beautiful, and I think at some level it's actually pretty intuitive. I think it just makes sense, but it's one thing to know that and another to kind of go through life acting on that, being just really aware of that. It's a reminder to not get completely lost in the details, and between content and intent, which are both very important, intent is the more important of the two. Without the intent, the content is empty. And that has helped me realize that I have had relationships in my life where all the right things are being said, all the right things are being done, but I never felt heard, and I never felt good. People need to feel heard. They need to feel understood. I find this to be an idea that makes me feel more connected to other people. In many ways, like reincarnation. Allow me to explain. I think reincarnation is a really beautiful idea. And even if you don't believe it, even if it's not the case, right? Let's just pretend for a second we don't reincarnate. The idea, the concept of coming back to Earth in different bodies, in different times throughout history, as different human beings, it makes me feel connected to other human beings in life, in that this is not just about me. And so coming back to the original idea here, just keeping in mind that people will remember how you made them feel shifts, I feel like, my energy and how the effort that I make in how I interact with people. It's also the single best argument I could give for why it's not worth it to be an asshole. Stay in your lane. I find I am learning over and over again that it is a massive waste of time and energy to try and change other people. For starters, if somebody doesn't want to change or isn't ready to change, there's just no way to make that change happen. It's just not, it's a waste of time. It's not possible. And more fundamentally, it's not your job. I feel like that is not the reason why I'm here on this earth. Like I said, I'm speaking about all this in the present tense because this is not a lesson that I feel like I have fully learned. I've realized that this is the source of so many of my own problems, really. My inability to just stick to my own shit, to stay in my own lane. In fact, I actually associate a feeling of relief to that moment where I remember, oh yeah, unless somebody's asking for it, my time and energy is best used, best invested in focusing on myself. The people that I think have had the biggest impact on me are not people that are concerned with changing my opinions or changing who I am, but rather focus entirely on putting out an amazing example. I was reluctant in many ways to try a plant-based diet last year, even just for 30 days. And this was, I think, because of a fear of judgment and just a general lack of understanding. And it wasn't the most militant vegans out there that convinced me or changed my mind. Really, it was the most calm, kind-hearted vegans that were putting out a lot of information and willing to answer my questions without judgment that opened the door for me to testing it out. Now, for those of you curious, and this is not fully related to this video, but I'll just address it really quickly. I'm not plant-based anymore, but it did have a lasting impact in that I consume a lot less animal-based products than I used to. A lot of people keep using words to describe me that I don't like very much, like influencer. But if I am an influencer now, take it from an influencer that trying to change or save people is a waste of time, in my opinion. I think it's a much better use of your time to focus on yourself. There's a lot less tension in my life, really, and in my relationships when I don't tell people what to believe, how to eat, how to live their lives. I suspect I will spend my entire life learning and relearning this lesson. Relationships always have giving and taking, right? But there's different kinds of giving and taking. The most important relationship that you have in life is with yourself. This, I find, is a really difficult one. What I've learned so far is that you'll have an awfully hard time finding people that will value you as a person the way you should be valued if you do not value yourself. I've spoken a little bit about it before, but I haven't always been the most open to relationships in my life. And looking back, I can say that this has come from not always having the best relationship with myself. I can only be open to other people to the extent to which I'm open to myself. Understanding this has radically changed my views about myself as I realize that I am less destructive and capable of greater generosity when I feel solid, when I take care of myself. I recognize that I say these kinds of things a lot, relating to feelings and internal exploration and whatnot. But I talk about these things so often because I feel like when you go out into the world, these are things that are so rarely explicitly spoken about. And instead, oh God, it's just so confusing going out into the world without that sort of like internal basis of understanding. Those are some of my thoughts on relationships inspired by this year and where I'm at in life right now. Relationships are tricky, they're messy, and I fully expect to be returning to these lessons over and over again well into the future. I'd love to hear what you think on this subject. A lot of you have left very insightful, very interesting comments on previous videos of mine, for which I am very grateful. So thank you very much. It does help with the algorithms, full transparency. So think about that too. If you have nothing profound to say, I would love to see funny anecdotes from dates gone wrong if you're willing to share. This video is sponsored by Audible, which I use on a daily basis. Audiobooks are my drug of choice. I'm currently listening to Alan Watts for the first time ever, if you can believe that, outside of lo-fi music. Right now I'm listening to Out of Your Mind, which is a collection of his teaching sessions, and it's amazing. I don't know what to tell you. I cannot recommend it enough. It is mind expanding, like seriously. I really like listening to smart people articulate and connect ideas. I think that's a great way to further develop the ability to do the same thing. Audible has a massive selection. I really like the app. I find it all just very convenient, to be honest. What a time to be alive. So you can start listening right now with a 30-day Audible trial where you can pick 1 audiobook and 2 Audible originals completely free. Visit audible.com/Nathaniel Drew or text Nathaniel Drew to 500-500. The link is also in the description. Thank you, Audible, for sponsoring this video. And thank you for watching.